the bigger picture. So, why, like, what is the purpose of starting up a brand? What is it? Innovation. What is innovation? I feel it is also interpretation in a way. Everything is there. Like a hair color is there. I've not invented a hair color. I've just interpreted hair color in a very different way, which could, like sell in today's time in today's world. And I could maybe, like build up 100 crore brand. Only then, like because I thought, like, okay, let me interpret it in a way which is personal to me and also execute it. So I think all three of them combined would be my idea of, innovation, interpretation versus, everything else is just illusion.
Love that. Innovation versus illusion. And I love the getting your hands dirty with something that's really close to your heart, that gives you a sense of purpose and it's personal to you, right? That's a beautiful definition of what drives you to innovation, because clearly it's a very hard path to walk. It's not for the faint-hearted to innovate, quote unquote. And what you described definitely goes in that direction. Thank you. Over to Shodeep, who woke up later than Yushika today.
I always do. But thanks, Yushika. I think they were very, very nice. It was a really nice way to explain innovation. Great point of view. Um, I would use three words. Um, One would be really disruptive, but disruptive with a purpose, or else it's just noise. Um, and there are many examples around this. And if it is not disruptive, it's just incremental. It's very easy to copy, and I'll talk about this, how this time frame between when you put it up out there and somebody else comes in with a similar product, the time frame, the time gap has really come down, and hence the need for creating those moats, so that it's relatively difficult to replicate, and need not necessarily be, and I'm talking from a food category standpoint, need not necessarily be the end product which is like that. It could be a many other aspects around it, especially the process involved or the kind of raw materials involved, or what you have, even things like, let's say today, one of the largest food trends right now that we see is protein, right? We're talking about protein everywhere. But what is also happening along with protein being there is that there's a bit of bloating that is starting. So if you have a protein getting consumed for a given quantum, you will find that bloating is when you hear the social chatter, you will figure out that that's an issue. So if you have solved for it and created a more easy to digest and yet deliver on protein, you have probably created a moat for yourself for some time. So disruptive innovation with a purpose is core. Associated to it is the angle of agility. You know, uh, Today with the kind of manufacturing facilities which are available, the access to raw materials which are available, the access to new ideas. Now, the fear is that Gen AI is going to create a lot of, or the agentic solutions are going to probably create a lot of sea of sameness. So, hence, how do you build in strategic bravery in the ideas that you're putting in right there? But you have to do it ahead of everybody else. So, like Yoshika, I have to wake up much early. You know, पहले for people like me, I used to always be a backbencher in my entire life. But अभी class में first आना बहुत जरूरी है. Because if you are not the first guy, or let me put it the other way around, the advantage of being first is significant. Um, I think that's also, it's not core, but it's a very significant adjacent to the core. Core being disruptive, innovation with a purpose. And if you've done both, it is important for a business to capture the value, because we are here to make money. And so it's critical that if you have really hit the right consumer, if you've addressed the right consumer need, and you have done it better than anybody else, and you have been the first one to do it, please do not forget to capture the value. And I think all these three things are very critical from a profitable business growth engine. We're talking about innovation as a as a fuel for new business. So for a profitable growth engine, these three are core vectors, in my opinion, to define innovation. Innovation itself is very critical, but agile innovation is very critical.
Absolutely. And then capturing value from that agility, right? I love that perfect comment to both of your answers, and disruption, not just firing in all directions, but actually disruption with a purpose and not just some incremental
And
change.
purpose is to meet consumer needs, not only to save planet.
Yes. And saving the planet is one of the consumer needs, if you think about it.
Yes, but it is not the only thing.
Agree. Absolutely. So, and I love that perspective, and I think it brings back, one of the reasons why we chose innovation as the topic for one of the four panels that we're having for Refract 2025 is the fact that innovation is often misconstrued to be just the product, and the way Yushika described it and the way you described it, it's not just about the hair dye or about the atta or about the biscuit or anything else. It's about what is the ecosystem around it and what is the purpose that's driving you to actually fulfill all the needs in that ecosystem in a way that's sustainable, in a way that's, always keeping the consumer needs front and center. And I love that definition from the both of you.
No, actually, a great answer, Shubhadeep. I was just imagining putting my business in your answer. Like, am I innovative enough? And, like, I feel Paradise just checked all the boxes as you spoke about it. Like,
Super.
we created a new category. Then, we have our own manufacturing. We are agile. We launch new shades every few months. And then third is obviously we feel value, we're profitable. And, like, I feel everything checked. So, great answer.
There you go. I'm glad.
Chalo, without doing our homeworks, Yoshika, I think we have done a good job.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's there's so much agreement in the panelists. We have to see how that goes when the rapid fire round comes. I'm giving you a head start warning that there might be a rapid fire somewhere down.
With a hamper.
Uh,
Yeah, with the hamper.
Coffee with Param, you would have got a hamper. Unfortunately, it is chai with Shalini, so I don't know about the hamper, but we will send you something really lovely to all the time you spent with us. So this is it's interesting the way you described your process of innovation, right? The question that comes to our mind is, and we ask this so many times when we work with our different customers, is when there are so many shiny new products and services vying for attention, vying for space in the market, vying for space on the shelf, is something innovative really possible? And what does innovation in this overcrowded, overstimulated market really mean for each of the context of the products that you create? What does innovation mean for that product, and how do you think about it when there's just so much clutter?
I think I touched upon it when I was speaking earlier. Like it's interpretation, right? Like it's not innovation as such. I would not say I've invented a product or something like, oh, hair colors did not exist before Paradise. But how I interpreted the market, the category, everything in general, the customers. Like hair colors for the longest of time was just targeted towards older people. Cover your grays, feel young. We have blacks and browns and burgundies. That is it. Nobody was talking to the younger consumer, or nobody was talking about, oh, hair colors have harsh chemicals like PPD or ammonia. Ammonia, I think later on it caught on, but PPD and resource and all, nobody wanted to touch upon those topics. So when Paradise came, we had few uh, things in mind. In order to be different, I was not looking, I did not have a consumer background. I had no work ex, so I was not thinking, acha category bada hai, so मैं launch kar दूंगी. No, I was thinking from a very personal point of view. Like, I like to color my hair. These things are missing from the market. Nobody's talking to a younger consumer. So let me try. Let me just do it and see. And, like, I had no idea it would even, it's 5 years of 4 years of Paradise now. And, I think we'll probably touch 100 CR this financial year. So, like being profitable, bootstrapped, and, coming so long without customer support is just not possible. So, and with customer support, I mean, obviously they have options. They have a L'Oreal, they have a Garnier, they have a Godrej, they have everything. Godrej is for like 30 rupees. L'Oreal is for 600 rupees. Where do I price my product? What can I offer my customer? Obviously, there's a lot of other things that go on in my mind. But those are secondary. First would be like, why will I put a product out? Will I use it? People like me use it. So I feel that is where, like personal, that word comes. And I put myself as a customer. I took like a focus group of people like me and what would you like from a hair color brand? So we started with colors like pinks and blues, and that was for a very niche audience. I think we also learned about it at IIM, like you start from a small niche and then spread out. And now we also have gray coverage colors. We have so many different ranges because the brand has grown, the customer base has grown. And now we don't have to shout, oh, we are different, we are different. Now the brand, somewhere it has a good recollection on quick commerce. If a customer likes the product, they will purchase it again and again whenever they order their groceries. So,
Yeah.
that is how it happens. And to capture that mind space, you just need to see, why am I different? And for me, that came from my personal experience because nobody was talking to me. So I thought, let me try it and see where it could lead me to. And that is how things happened for Paradise. And very grateful, people chose to trust Paradise and use Paradise. Obviously, hair color as a category is, not like a makeup ke acha use कर लिया नहीं अच्छा लगा तो निकाल दिया hair color it stays on your hair and some people like it some people don't like it so lot of angry customers but you learn along the way it's not as simple as कि अच्छा नहीं अच्छा लगा तो जाने दिया people are really angry if they mess up their hair so we have such a big customer care team. Again, that is, I would say it's innovation in terms of, like if you call any customer care, Streaks, Garnier and all, it's toll-free number. Nobody is going to give you personalized advice. Acha, you fucked up your hair, so do this. We have people, 10 people in just customer care team who are there to answer your calls, answer your messages. Okay, what do I do? This is what I've done with my hair. This is what has happened. So, it's just your interpretation on different section of things which could help customers remember you and purchase from you.
And yeah, I think it connects back to what Shubhadeep said about it's not just the product and everything around it. If it's protein, it's about causing bloating or what is happening in the ecosystem where your product actually ends up going and living. And it's not necessarily only product innovation, right? It could be a service innovation, but it is about the world in which that shows up. So I'd love to hear from Shubhadeep, the answer to the same question. Like you
So, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Shalini. Go ahead.
say 99% penetrated product and we're still innovating in that space for biscuits. So what has that experience been like for you? All of the and in a country like
Yeah.
India, it is so vast and varied. You're still innovating in that space. So what's that like?
No, because it's vast and varied, you can innovate. There's an opportunity in every pocket that you can look at. But coming back to the question that you just asked, you had two parts to this question. One was, is innovation only product? And said, is innovation really possible? I think the latter is, yes, innovation is possible. It's about you to reframe, rethink, reimagine as to what and how you would innovate. Now, not only on the product front. Um, and the more you can go fundamental in your starting point to understand the consumer from their behavioral angle, from their psychographical angle, from their hence the attitude, hence the approach that they take in life, the more long-term success you're likely to achieve in your innovation that you're going to do. Having said that, does it always happen? No. Does it happen once in a blue moon? Yes. What do we run after? We run after a lot of trends that we search. So, keeping your ears to the ground when you are always listening to what consumers are putting out there in the social space, um, what are they searching for? What are the questions they are having different cohorts. Um, I'm guessing Yoshika. I'm just making a guess. Don't get angry with me, but let's say Yoshika is Gen Z, and I am a millennial, right? And we are looking at two different cohorts, or we are looking at somebody in tier two who's heavily exposed to this larger world. So when we look at that, uh, yeah, when we look at that, we look at how the difficult part starts from not to identify the trends, right? Is ingestible beauty becoming big as a trend, for example, right? Is hazelnut becoming large? Are fermented drinks becoming big? Right? Are these very difficult to identify? Maybe not, right? Um, but then at any given point in time, there are some 20 such trends which seem to be very strong, although we can end up classifying them as emerging, growing, mainstream, and then there is a vacillating set of signals that you get. Um, but it's difficult to identify where do you put your money as an organization amongst those 20. Do you make stuff around all those 20 and put it out? Because each of those signals can actually translate into 10 different ideas. Right? So there are so many options. Obviously, you cannot do all of that, right? So you need to figure out now, narrow down. So I think the biggest trick is in that. The first biggest trick is in that. The second part is now to reimagine. If this is what consumers are really, makhana was trending was at one point in time. So if makhana is what people want, what do you only sell makhana, or do you do something with it, right? So I think the biggest challenge happens to and that's where I don't know whether Gen AI can ever deliver on it, but it's about how you imagine the consumer need getting delivered, right? Now that's on one side, and we were still talking about product, right? Even a lame product like Basin, for example, can you innovate on Basin is the question, right? But yes, we had to innovate on Basin because you were the 20th or the 50th player to think of coming as Ashirwad Basin. So, kare kya? So, lumpiness was a problem that people never articulated, but we saw. So, if you have to crack lumpiness, then you had to buy chana dal from a particular place and do something with it in order to solve the lumpiness problem without adding anything. You cannot add any other thing other than the chana dal itself. So you have to do something with fundamental the structural angle of that molecule, so of the product, so that you can solve for that lumpiness formation. Similarly, when we wanted to create noodles and we said that, okay, let's figure out how the chipchipapan, when it becomes thanda, you can solve for it. So you had to think through a solution around that. Now, these are kind of product-led innovation that you're talking about. Packaging innovation. Now, packaging innovation based on ergonomics is one way to look at it. But to really create a paper packaging for a 5 kg atta bag, you know how atta bags are carried, right? Like this. And I'm talking from warehouses to retail outlets, from retail outlets to inside the retail outlet, right? वहां पे क्या होता है, हुक डाल दिया जाता है. So you know all of this. Then you have to think through that आटा wet हो जाएगा तो lump हो जाएंगे. But you still wanted to create a good for planet packaging option with a QR code so that you can trace back to the farm from where this wheat was picked up and ground to make the atta, right? So innovation on that front was also that's also very strong. Does it meet a consumer need? Does. Why? Because yes, it is good for the planet, the kind of packaging that you brought in. It has a QR code, it has traceability, there is authenticity in the entire story. So there are a bunch of consumer needs that you are addressing. Is there an innovation in the communication process? Historically, what have we done? We have only made TVCs, then we evolved and said, no, we have to create content for Meta, for Google, etc. But then now today's communication is on the brand's own platform. And you're saying it's your value exchange platform. What Shalini or Yushika values. And if that marries with my brand world, I will have content on the platform which is talking effectively about my brand, where Yushika will come and land on my platform and will spend at least 3-4 minutes and will watch, read, play, whatever on that. And whatever she does, effectively, I'm telling my brand story subtly, subliminally, through color codes, through certain kind ways of messaging. So, is there an innovation in the way you're communicating? Yes. So, that's just, for example, again, process. Um, Ashirwad's Atta, one of the biggest moats that it has created over time is the it is, after Government of India, is the second largest wheat buyer in this country. And it has been able to identify blending so well that if let's say Shubhodip is from Bengal, he gets a very different kind of atta with different kinds of grade grinding. And if Shalini is from Karnataka, she gets a very different combination. So there are process innovations which are also at play. So I'm just saying that, and how does this happen? Because we have an agribusiness division. How does the products happen so well? Because we have chefs with ITC hotels. So it's an ecosystem at play to help you solve for this consumer. So this is just to tell you that yes, innovation, but innovation in different ways and all
That
of
was
that.
a really provocative question, and I love the answers that I've got from the both of you because it spoke directly addressing consumer insights that have not otherwise been addressed, right? Which is how Yushika also beautifully put it. She said, it's not that hair color doesn't exist, but I found needs that other people weren't solving. And you gave us a whole bunch of examples across ITC foods, where whether it's besan clumping or a certain mix of atta or like sustainable packaging. And I think packaging was one of the things that you innovated on when you went on quick commerce, right, Yoshika? I think I
I
think
think you studied that, huh?
there was a new packaging that you introduced when you went on quick commerce with Paradise, right?
Yeah, so we have hair colors which range from 600 to 700, which are the bigger packs. But we also found, quick commerce audience is not willing to pay a lot of money in one purchase. Like I'm sure when even the POCs gave us this insight, once the bill hits 1,000, people are going to negative, negative, negative from their carts. So, the cart value also here is of a big impact that it, like, okay, I'm not going to purchase a 700 rupee hair color. So we introduced mini packs, which were for 299. So we eventually saw an uptake. So now obviously the bigger packs we have to start reducing because people just order minis. They will order a bunch of minis. They will order it again and again. But because of the cheap price point, which really works on quick commerce, but obviously if you see Shopify, it's not a profitable product to have because the AOV, it reduces the AOV by a lot of, like obviously if we are selling 700 rupee product and suddenly we have to sell 299 product, but we still have to run ads, we still have to see CACs. So it does not sit right on Shopify. But with quick commerce, it works really well for us. So yeah.
I think
Right.
that it kind of touches the points on both sides that, whether it's a really large corporate or a startup that's, serving a very niche audience, the idea that you're identifying unmet consumer needs and just fulfilling just those is actually a series of innovations that are adding up to something really big.
I like
And
how Suvadeep says very structural things. I can see, I can listen. Like, I think that is what, if you work in an organization, maybe that is how you articulate things. Like, I just say whatever, because in a startup, it's just like, okay, I've done this, and we do a bunch of things. We don't see trends. Okay, we think this is happening, so let's launch and see. We will not wait to see what people are saying. We just do it. And then we'll realize, okay, it has worked, it has not worked. We just shut it and let's do something else.
so let's talk about that for a little bit. And I think it's in both cases, right? So when you're working on a new product or a new marketing innovation, what are the signals or signs that you look for that you're moving in the right direction when you're launching something?
I think the last point that Shivdeep said, like it's how like you've built a community. Now brands have that leisure. Like we have a 300K plus community on Instagram, which is like a lot of people who are, directly in touch with the brand with us. So for us now, it's the process is fairly simple. Like obviously we have a team of Gen Z's young consumers, and there are consumers, there are employees. So we'll come up with something. Suppose it's a cherry chocolate hair color, for example. It was a Diwali special edition. Obviously, cherry was going on, maybe that shade was just very hot because of Lana Del Rey, some pop culture moment. So we thought we'll just see. So before producing the product or, just even working on the formulation, we put out a post on Instagram. Would you like us to launch this shade? And we got like some 4,000 likes and 100, 200 comments. Yes, yes. Oh, like I've been waiting. And then we just put some feelers out, like because because the response was good, decent. I told my R&D, let's start producing the shade and let's see. And meanwhile, we were just giving some teasers to the audience. Do you think it's a good shade? This is how it will look. And people were just so excited. So we just knew that was the right direction. And even then, obviously, because it could be a hit or miss, we did not say that, oh, we are just launching it. We said we'll do it as a limited edition. We'll just produce one batch because we have our own manufacturing and see if it works. If it doesn't work, maybe, we'll just shut it after the festive season and not have it in our lineup and, supply it to quick commerce or other channels. We just have it on our website and see. But as soon as we launched it, within a month, it became our top seller, and people love the shade. And then we decided, obviously, it can be part of our lineup in general, the hair color. And even the quick commerce, Amazon, everybody started demanding, okay, we are getting searches for this color, so we'd like to have it on the platform. So then, it just worked out for us, and we made it a part of our permanent portfolio. So that is how, we start developing. We always ask the audience, would you like this? We are thinking of doing this, and it's very transparent. We ask them and they say, do they want it, do they not want it? And sometimes we've done this without thinking, and we thought it will work and it has not worked. But the benefit of having the startup is agility. We produce fast, we fail fast, and move on to the next thing. So that is how it works for us. Like, it's not, I'm not going to Mintel, I'm not getting some reports. There's no structure. There's an intuition. Simple, we put a question out, we get answer, and we do it.
So there's the other end of the story. I'm
This is
assuming.
amazing. This is amazing, actually, Yoshika.
I want the other end of the story. Not that is ITC Foods and the risk and reward being at a very different scale. Shubhadeep, what's your answer to this?
No, so I think what Yoshika said is absolutely perfect. So just a few years back, I think 5, 6 years back, we started ITC Store as a platform which we thought is a petri dish. And exactly how Yoshika was explaining, that platform existed mainly for us to experiment, learn what works, and then scale or kill. Um, Today, as Q-commerce came in, we found that, and she was talking about CAC, etc., on Shopify, which is effectively her own commerce platform. And so was this case. But we also thought of stopping ITC Store because all our experimentation now started to happen on QCom. And most of our very early launches, we put it up on QCom platforms to understand. But if you really ask me, the matrix that we look at, the first and most primary metric that we look at is repeats. Um, what is the repeat percentage? And of course, over time, we've been able to create some database to understand what is a healthy repeat and what is not a healthy repeat. And at least, are there any segments or cohorts where the repeats are looking healthy? If nothing, then we, of course, take a call to cut the tail. But I think the most important parameter is repeats. Followed by, as we move on and let's say QCom as a platform, then we start to see how the ROAS is improving. Um, and what is the proportion of organic purchase versus dependent purchase on media. Um, Reviews do play a significant role for us to improve. uh, but not that all platforms allow reviews, so ratings do matter. For example, we have a cloud kitchen and we know exactly if things go below 4.5 or 4.7, then those dishes we actually do not keep. And so I don't know, Yushika, if you have tried out our cloud kitchen from MasterChef and Ashirwad and Santi's Baked Creation and stuff like that. But that's a clear policy that we follow. That how are consumers reacting? Which are those dishes which are not? If we do not know why those dishes are not working, the first thing that we do is take it off, because it just pulls down the overall ratings. So ratings really, really do matter. So yeah, so these are actually very critical parameters for us to judge whether a particular new product that we've introduced to the market is performing or not performing. And other than that, of course, we also have our traditional ways. We do these traditional dipsticks. We'll go and ask consumers what they have hated, liked, etc. But yeah, so it's a mix of both, which tells us whether the early signals of something is working or not working.
I love that, and I think the way the conversation has grown also, the way you both described it was first reframing based on consumer insights and then acting with these, let's first try it out and then let's read the signals about what people are saying about it, continue tweaking actions as you go along, right? I think being
But then
present.
I'll just add one more bit. Sometimes we get drawn into too much now and here. So a lot of money gets spent on only the commerce platforms, and primarily in the bottom funnel investments. But over time, it's clearly understood that unless and until we generate strong awareness and spend beyond platform. In fact, just to give you a perspective, the correlation between organic search is happening on commerce platforms. And when you're spending behind the brand outside the platform, talking about all small brands here, forget the larger brands aside, keep the larger. The correlation is around zero point 0.8. That means when you are on air, you are spending behind building brand equity, which appears to you that it's going to give you a little long-term return because it's about building deeper consumer engagement. It is about building brand trust and stuff like that. But the organic search for the brand and hence conversion, which is organic conversion on the quick commerce platform, that has a zero point 0.8 correlation. So keep building brands and try to have a balance between how much you're investing on bottom and mid versus top and mid.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is my layman's understanding. What you're saying is if I see an ad on TV or on YouTube of one of the smaller brands, the chances of me ordering that on QCOM are higher. And
Yeah,
that's why
the chances of people like you who have seen it to go and search for the brand on QCOM is higher. That's what intuition says. But that's now proven with more data. That's all. But yeah, why did we always advertise? So that people will recall, will go to the shop, will buy from my Kirana outlet. Today, it's only just, it's more data that you have in handy. And hence, I'm just trying to say that, only investing on inside the retail outlets, whether it's an e-retail outlet or a physical retail outlet,
there's still
not always good enough. You
Yeah,
should have a balance.
I agree. I can say from personal experience, if you spend on like a Blinkit or a Swiggy or that platform, it's exorbitant. The banners will cost you upwards of lakhs and lakhs. And, sometimes it gives you no returns. You're paying 10 lakhs for some space and you will see you don't get incremental return. Versus, if you're spending on maybe Meta, you're running some random ads, you're putting out content on social media and doing things, you could still see growth on these platforms. It's not necessarily related to how much you're spending on particular platform. Obviously, you have to spend to protect maybe some on keywords and other stuff, which is obviously basic requirements also. Some platforms have that you have to spend certain amount. But yeah, I get it, like how it's not always incremental. Okay, I'm going to spend so much and maybe I'll get, no, that doesn't happen.
love that point, and I love that this panel is agreeing so much, making my job really easy. So now I'm going to switch to rapid fire. Okay, so bunch of questions. First, this time we'll take Shubhadeep first because Yoshika went first in the beginning. So Shubhadeep, if you could, by the way, I'm going to loop back to all of these points that you made. I want to switch, bump up the energy a bit, and we'll go with Shubhadeep. If you could eat only one snack for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Dark fantasy chocofills.
Oh, okay. If ITC Foods were to start again today, what is the one rule you would break first?
Kill the long tail.
Okay, now we're going to play this or that. Okay. So dark fantasy or Mishti Dahi?
Dark fantasy.
Whoa. You're going to be not allowed back into Calcutta. I hope you know that. Shori ban. Okay. Forbes, being on the Forbes cover or building a 1,000 crore product?
1,000 crore product.
Which is harder, selling a bold idea or killing your own idea?
Killing your own idea.
A viral campaign or a timeless story?
Timeless story.
Data or instinct?
Instinct, because instinct is led by data.
AI generated insight or old school ethnography?
Yeah.
Ouch, ouch. Mere question.
Ethnography maybe because more fundamental, but very difficult to do nowadays.
Okay. So you still choose ethnography?
Yeah.
Launch and learn or get it right the first time?
Launch and learn.
What is one food startup that you really admire?
Good bug.
What's one marketing buzzword you'd gladly retire?
CAC.
What? CAC. Okay. Okay. Uh, what's your guilty pleasure ad? One that you secretly admire from another brand?
Sorry. Once more.
What is your guilty pleasure advertisement that you secretly admire from some other brand?
Oh, many actually. A lot of Nike ads, Under Armour. There are lots of ads. Lots of ads like that.
It is Amazon.
A lot of Apple ads are very nice.
So none guilty pleasures. So that's okay. You did very well on your rapid fire, except for the last one. It was a pretty intense rapid fire. Over to you, Shika. Okay. So Yoshika, if you could choose only one hair color for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I'll choose the red hair color. I feel it's very timeless and you can choose the intensity of the shade
Okay.
depending on your mood.
Okay. Any particular red from the Paradise collection?
I think I'll go with cherry red.
Okay. If Paradise were to start again today, what is the one rule you would break first?
I think I'll maybe, see the TAM more seriously now. Okay, the market is big. Maybe I should start with the product that appeals to a huge mass rather than a very small audience.
Lovely. Okay, now it's time for your this or that. Bad haircut or botched hair color?
Bad haircut.
Forbes 30 under 30 or building a 1,000 crore product?
Building a 1,000 crore product.
That's an agreeable panel. Okay. Packaging or positioning?
Positioning.
Viral moments or timeless brand?
Timeless brand.
Build it fast or build it forever?
Build it forever.
Data or instinct?
Instinct.
And the last one, launch and learn or get it right the first time? I think we already answered this.
Yeah, launch and learn.
Okay. What's the one topic you discuss most with your AI assistant?
About consumer insights, what is the generation now doing? I feel I'm getting old, so I just need to know what is my TG doing now.
हमसे तो मत बोलो यार ऐसे.
I keep asking what are the Gen Zs up to?
Okay. Who would you hire as Chief Innovation Officer of Paradise?
Oh, I think nobody better than me.
Yeah, and there you go. Okay. And if we made a movie on Paradise, what would be the soundtrack?
It's difficult. I think it would be something very cheerful, like something colorful, something nice, I don't know, pleasant.
Any band or any song that comes to mind?
Nothing as such. Now you put me under so much pressure, I can't.
There you go. By the time I came to the last question, both of you build out. Okay. You probably need like
Yeah,
a scene or something. Okay. Thank you for that. That was really nice. We're going to open up for audience questions. So somebody's saying Grace Kelly by Mika, apparently.
that's a great suggestion.
That sounds like a fantastic fit. Okay, audience, please put up your questions. We have 10 minutes left. We're going to probably have time for a couple of questions. But before that, I really want to ask you both this question, right? The innovating for Gen Z, one as a legacy company and one as a startup, just building off of Yushika's last answer. What are the perils and promises? You have the entire behemoth of ITC power behind you. You have the agility of a startup that's 4 years old and already so extremely successful. What do you see as the perils and promises of innovating for Gen Z in?
Ishika, please go. Or you want me to go in first?
You go first.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So I don't know whether it's very different from innovating for any other segment. But I don't know why you added the word legacy and startup. But I think we
I
all
think,
we tend to approach it very similarly.
okay.
Um, the biggest problem that I am currently facing with, as we are all trying to understand Gen Z better, is the say-do gap. My biggest problem right now is to solve for that. What I'm scared about is it's a strong trend of that processed food is not good. I'm scared about that. That keeps me awake in the night, and hence the need to reframe the entire portfolio or large part of the portfolio. Um, so, so innovating for them, innovating my portfolio, modifying my portfolio, adapting my portfolio to address, because we are at ITC already 33% of the workforce is Gen Z. We expect 50% going forward very soon, which means they are the buyers in the market to whom I'm wanting to sell. So yeah, trying to understand this gap between what they say and what they are doing, and at least trying to address this aspect of processed versus fresher or cold chain and stuff like that. I think that's the space that we would love to address. I don't think there is any problem by when you hinted about with the word legacy on the aspect of agility.
Mhm.
And by the way, if it's a small business, if it's a 50 crore business, we have many businesses within a business, right? The 50 crore business has to support itself through its own P&L. It's not supported by, Peter doesn't help Paul. Okay.
Absolutely. I can see that.
And hence, the whether you're legacy or not, you have many small businesses within this business, and they all have their own P&Ls to manage, and they all have to be as agile and as innovative as Yushika is. That's our challenge to have, right?
Oh,
We need to have, so that's how the org is also constructed, so that it's de-layered in terms of decision making, and younger people are given the authority to take calls at a much early age, um, and big calls in making decisions in terms of business decisions. So I think these help, and will we need to foster more of this. We need to encourage failure, or else the boldness is getting lost. Um, because without being bold, not the shock value and the reckless bold, but the meaningful impact bold. And I think without that, you will never be heard, seen in this hyper fragmented world. So I think that's how I would look at when you're talking or trying to create new products for tomorrow. Gen Z is a it's a placeholder. It's about tomorrow.
brilliant. Thank you. And I think you really touched upon the point of the way I used legacy was to say that, there is so much scope and there is so many things that you've done in the past. How is that flowing into the future was what I meant. And I think you touched upon that beautifully. So thank you. Yushika, over to you.
I'll not overcomplicate things. I think, you just give what you say. You don't have to make everything perfect. I think the whole past era of things, trying to make things look good, be perfect, show values, this, that, have extended stories. Now it's, okay, I say this, I'm promising you a certain thing and I have to deliver on that. I can't just say I'm sustainable, but what, why, what are you? You can't be vague. The generation is, smart enough to know, okay, you're saying this, I'm going to buy this. If you don't, they will call you out and you have to suffer, because social media, they are very active. So for Gen Zs, I feel, it's quite simple. You don't have to overcomplicate. You just have a very simple proposition. Okay, I'm a hair color. I'm going to give you red hair. I'm not saying I'm good for you or I'm the best for you. I'm going to give you hair spa. You're going to look like a model. No, I'm just going to give you a transformation. Here's a customer. This is how you do it. You can do it at home. You don't have to spend 10,000 in a salon. You do it for 500 bucks at home. That is what I give. And this is what, if they want, they'll take it and they'll love it if that is what they get. So I would just say, deliver what you say. Don't try to make things up, be vague. That is what I believe, should be the future of making a good product, a good brand or anything. Just be simple.
I love the, yeah, I saw the questions. I love the connection between the way that you both said it. It's like if you're doing what you say you'll do, that's all actually required, whether that's Gen Z or any other brand. Earlier it was probably done differently and now it's being done differently, but it's still about finding out what people want and delivering to that and not saying much more than that. Just find out what they want, say that you'll do it and actually do it, right? But I think in each step, there's just so much that the way you described the stories earlier for the past hour that we've been talking, each step of finding out what people want, actually saying it in an effective, convincing way that, we are doing this for you, and then actually going and executing it. I think the devil is in the details in all those three steps. And I love how the both of you brought out those points with so much heart. We do have a question. I don't know if there are more, but we don't have much time either. Maybe we can just answer this one before we close. It says, build it forever, timeless stories. Is it still relevant today when everything seems to be operating from such a short time orientation? We don't see much of it today in communication. Why is it still relevant to build forever and to have timeless stories?
No,
That's
I truly agree to this message. I'm also, like, it is just an aspiration. When you say these things, you want to do it, but it is next to impossible in today's time. Like, I can't remember an ad, obviously Apple, Nike, all those ads have been done. So I remember those iconic. Now, if you ask me, I will not remember a single ad. We also run multiple ads on Meta. I don't know how many ads, over 100 plus, 200 plus, so, and we don't have TV. I don't watch any TV. See, on YouTube, I will skip ads. So I have no recollection. So, all these timeless, I get it. It's good to say, even I want to build a timeless brand. maybe I will be, maybe I'll not be, I'll be one of those viral brands. Who knows? But that's just an aspiration. So I get where you're coming from. I would also be saying this, but it's just an aspiration. When I said those things, I want to do that, but you never know.
And what's the story from the other side, Shruti?
No, so I think being consistent. So yes, you're right, Yoshika, when you say that ads are decaying very fast and struggle to recall ads. And that's why we are increasingly trying to build value exchange platforms, etc. But I think creativity at this point in time is the biggest or the largest currency on relevance. If you are not creative in your storytelling, and storytelling is very, very critical, I think I still and I will continue to believe that effective storytelling is the most powerful fuel for profitable growth. Um, and stories which are consistently told, and most of us get fed up with the same piece of content or the same activity that we are doing around the brand. But if you are consistent with your story and you're impactful in your storytelling, then I think it is absolutely it is brilliant in terms of the return on investment that you fetch maybe 24 months down the line. Not today, not tomorrow, but you definitely enjoy a significant advantage going forward. But maybe not the traditional way of ads, Yashika, but it's a new way to tell the stories. But storytelling is, and I think it's creativity is just becoming more and more important.
Yeah, I think it's if you stick to your purpose. Okay, my brand, I said I will do this, and you
बिल्कुल.
consistently, मैं ये करूंगी, मैं ये करूंगी, मैं ये कर रही हूँ. Eventually people will remember you by that. It's just not an ad; it's just a brand. What you
Yes,
stand
that's
for.
what I'm saying. You tell your story in your way, but telling your story is very important.
Yeah.
And I think there's this quote, I don't remember who it is by, but it says, "The world is made of stories, not atoms."
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I remember this quote by Yuval Noah Harari in his book *Sapiens*. He says, "Every modern, structure of human beings as a species is based on the fact that we've agreed on shared stories. So whether it's money or ethics or country borders or the fact that you need a passport to go from one country to, it's all just stories, right? And I think, like you said, that the idea of storytelling, whether it's from caveman's time to where you were sitting around a fire and listening to stories to today, stories have such a visceral impact. And I think everything that we spoke about now, and also answering Monica's question, it just says that if you've thought really about what stories people want to hear, how are you telling those stories? I think that's half the battle won, right? And just saying, keep staying true to those stories and having people come in agreement. So if you're saying I'm selling, Ashirwad Atta, or I'm selling a hair dye, somebody else believes your story and the authenticity with which you're delivering it, and the fact that they see the same need from the other side, saying that you've seen me. The story actually tells you that. The story is just saying that I feel seen. And I think that's the beautiful nuance that you both have brought out from your perspectives. Like, I'm selling hair dye, somebody wants hair dye. I'm selling Ashirwad Atta that doesn't clump, somebody wants Ashirwad Atta that doesn't clump. But why are you doing it? And going back to the purpose, I just love all the points that you both have touched upon this evening. I don't think we have time for that last question from Sangamitra. I'm really sorry. Oh, okay. This is a Gen Z question. You guys want to answer it? Do you have a couple of minutes more?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just quickly, maybe like one minute. It says, I am a Gen Z and looking at the economy and prices everywhere, I find myself being a consumer who doesn't think I can sustain this consumerism in the long run. I know I'm an individual, but say hypothetically, a lot of us start feeling this way and acting on it. How would then this affect business models? There's a subtle threat there, Sangamitra.
Yeah. Strong thread, not subtle.
But valid question. It's like when everybody is being overwhelmed with this consumerism, then what happens is her question. I'm rephrasing.
I think for me, for my product, like we created it as an option to expensive salons. Like, okay, you don't have to spend 10,000 in a salon to get red hair. Maybe you can do it at home and time with paste. Also with a different range, which is gray coverage. To cover grays, obviously, it's a personal choice. I don't have to say anything. It is the society. People will shame you. The society will do everything in their power to tell you you have to look beautiful. I don't have to tell you, it is just people around you and it is how, where we live. So I feel, even with gray coverage, we don't do a lot of advertising for that range, but it has taken up really well for us. And it's not that we are advertising, it is just what people need. And so I feel my business is in no threat if people stop consuming, because it's so the society has to collectively change for me to just stop selling hair dyes.
I love that. Okay. Awareness. So don't
No,
just
so
white hair and old people. I'm sure
last
people will love
10
that.
seconds from my side. I don't know whether I really followed Sangamitra's question well, but consumerism, if it is about, let's say in this case, if it's about consumption of food or any usage of any personal care category or whatever it is, costs, inflations, etc., will always be there. I think it's about choices to make out of all the options. Do we go back to the roots? Do we act on the vector of convenience? Do we make choices based on health? I think those choices we will always continue to make. Price laddering will always continue to exist, Sangamitra. So I don't know, uh, in this capitalist world, whether you accept it or not, this is a reality. But yeah, authenticity, I think, will overrule or trump many such choices. And I believe that going forward, it is how authentically, like for example, Yoshika spoke from her heart. The way such people are going to talk to all of us and to Gen Z and everybody, we are going to connect with those, and we are not going to connect with people who are going to do greenwashing and only be talking and not walking the path and so on and so forth. So, but I don't think you can take out capitalism from this planet.
We're too far gone down that path. And there are some advantages to it, I suppose. But yeah, I think, thank you for that answer, Shubhadeep. I think you ended it on a very positive and uplifting note. Authenticity, beautiful storytelling, being true to your purpose, loving what you do, and always answering to the why, I think has been the theme of what I've heard so far. And if we're feeding all of that into innovation, I think we're going to be innovating some really good stuff for the world that we put these things out in. So thank you both for taking the time out to chat with us this evening. It's been an honor, and I don't know if the folks on or participants know, but Shubhadeep was one of the first projects that, I mean, Shubhadeep's was one of the first projects that we did at Studio Three Big Things, and so there's a very special place that we have in our heart for Shubho. And of course, Yoshika and I, having studied together, we've even tried to work with Paradise, and hopefully that will happen sometime soon in the future. I am a great admirer of their brand as well, and maybe one day I will have pink.
I can't say that. I can't say that much. I
But
think I'm limited on time to even have hair.
yeah, so maybe the next thing from Paradise will be for people who have limited, right? So that's another niche market for
But a
you.
big thank you, Shalini, to you and Param and everybody at Three Big Things to have us, have me here, and it's a really pleasure and an honor to be speaking to both of you today.
Thank you. Thanks, Yoshika.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you guys. It was great. I've learned so much from Shivadeep. I love talking to people who work in organizations, to hear them talk. Like I have no experience. So I feel, we just do things very brashly. But, it's great to have to see, but we also follow these things down the line subconsciously. So yeah, great, great validation for me.
All the best to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye. Lovely
Bye.
again. Bye, everybody.
Bye.